He was barely 20 years old when someone slid a contract across the table and told him this was the moment his life would change. $2 million up front. Chains? Cars? Family set for life. At that age, you don't ask who owns what. You don't ask about recoupment clauses or publishing splits. You see the number, you see the escape, and you sign. And that's exactly where Offset's real story begins. Not on stage, not in a sold-out arena, but in a boardroom where ownership quietly shifted away from him. That's the part fans don't talk about enough. The advance feels like a gift, but it's really a loan. A leash. Labels front the money, then deduct everything. Studio time, videos, marketing, tour support. Before the artist ever sees real profit. You can headline festivals and still technically owe the machine. Offset has admitted he didn't fully understand what he signed back then. He trusted the lawyers, trusted the excitement, trusted the moment. And by the time you realize the fine print matters more than the headline number, you're already locked in. Years later, that awareness turned into something bigger. In 2022, Offset quietly filed a lawsuit against his own label, QC, claiming they didn't own his solo music and that he had paid out of pocket to secure his rights. That wasn't a loud social media rant. It wasn't a viral live stream. It was paperwork, calculated, strategic, and that tells you everything about how he changed. The 20-year-old chasing advances was gone. The version of him chasing control had arrived. But while that legal tension simmered in the background, something else exploded online. Blueface posted alleged messages involving Offset. Screenshots started circulating. Names were trending. And suddenly, this wasn't about contracts. It was about respect. Offset reportedly assumed WAC 100 had to know about it. Blueface is his artist. In this industry, if your artist moves, people assume you approved it. That's how accountability works. WAC denied orchestrating anything. Said he found out after it was already public. But by then, the damage was done. Cardi B reportedly stepped in and asked for calm. No more escalation, no more exposing, and according to WAC, out of respect for her, certain things didn't go further. That's where the story gets layered. Because now it's not just business, it's loyalty, it's history, it's personal relationships crossing into industry politics. And when pride mixes with paperwork, things get messy fast. Then came the double-dipping debate that's followed WAC for years, acting as both label and manager, collecting one percentage here, another percentage there. Is it illegal? Not if the contract allows it. But critics say when one person controls both sides of a deal, the artist doesn't really have someone negotiating in their corner. And for someone like Offset, who already felt trapped by early contracts, hearing stories about heavy splits and power consolidation hits differently. Once you've felt controlled by paperwork, you start seeing control everywhere. And just when that tension seemed like it might cool down, an old dice game story resurfaced. According to WAC, Offset and 42 Dugg were playing dice at QC Studios years back. The claim was that someone tried to leave mid-game with money while another player was hot, and things allegedly turned physical. Dugg denied being robbed. Offset reportedly sent private messages acknowledging parts of the story. No video, no clear proof. Just conflicting narratives floating online. Why does that matter? Because in hip-hop, reputation carries weight. Street code can mean more than legal code. A story about grabbing someone's pocket hits pride in a way contracts never could. And once that kind of narrative resurfaces publicly, it reopens old wounds. Business tension becomes personal tension. At the same time, Migos was quietly fracturing. For years, fans blamed ego, women, or clashing personalities. But Offset later hinted that money was the real issue. As he got older, had kids, built a family, he started asking harder questions about splits and back-end percentages. He wasn't necessarily fighting Quavo or Takeoff personally. He was questioning the structure around them. Who owned what? Who collected what? Who really benefited when the streams hit millions? Then tragedy hit. Takeoff's passing changed everything. Suddenly, arguments about percentages felt small compared to loss. Offset spoke openly about guilt, about the what ifs. What if things had stayed tighter? What if he had made different choices? That kind of reflection reshapes a person. And after that, the way he talked about business shifted. Less emotion, more strategy. Less reacting, more calculating. That's why when people expect loud confrontations between Offset and Whack 100, they miss the bigger picture. There was no massive public showdown, no courtroom battle between them, no explosive face-to-face moment that shut everything down. Just tension, just accusations, just two powerful personalities operating differently. Whack stays vocal, confrontational, always addressing headlines. Offset moves quieter, adjusting contracts, restructuring deals, reclaiming leverage behind the scenes. And that contrast fuels speculation. Fans fill in gaps. Comment sections explode. Every new rumor gets tied back to old drama. But sometimes the real fight isn't the one trending online. Sometimes it's the one happening in conference rooms. With lawyers, with signatures, with ownership transfers nobody celebrates because they aren't flashy. When you zoom out, this isn't really about a dice game. It's not even about blue-face screenshots. It's about control. Offset entered the industry young and hungry. He signed fast. He trusted the system. He made millions. But he didn't control the machine printing those millions. And once you realize you don't control the machine, everything changes. The music business runs on leverage. Labels have leverage when you're new. Managers have leverage when you're inexperienced. Public narratives have leverage when your name is trending for the wrong reasons. And once you understand that, you stop chasing advances and start chasing ownership. Offset's evolution shows that shift. From excitement to awareness, from reacting to recalibrating, from being a piece of the machine to trying to rewire it. The tension with Whack 100, the contract debates, the resurfaced stories, they're all symptoms of something deeper. An artist realizing that fame without control is just a different kind of trap. And maybe that's the real lesson here. The loudest fights aren't always on Instagram Live. They're in contracts. They're in percentages. They're in who owns the masters when the streams hit billions. Offset might have signed away power at 20. But the version of him now, he's asking different questions. And in this industry, the moment you start asking the right questions is the moment you start taking your power back.